energized again. Here we are. It's the last one, part 365 of 365.
Yes.
End of year 2022 review drafts. This is the last one, and we're going to call this one Holy Shit, That Also Happened. Because we also had one of these earlier. If you've been keeping along, we had one it was called Holy Shit, That Happened. So we had a little bit more that we wanted to add to this, and we figured we'd throw this in the draft. You've got Rick, you've got Greg, you've got Dupe. We're about to have a really good time with this one.
Yeah, hopefully we don't get so heated this time. There's
we
no
won't get
Ron
heated this time.
DeSantis on this list, so
No,
we'll be
we
okay.
can't. Yeah. Duper got very defensive of his girl. So I
You
got
got
you.
very angry.
Because I defend Mexicans.
And I defend reality, so...
So go back. Hold on. We're not starting this again. Go back. Check out the politics draft. You get to see everything that you just missed between these two lovely young gentlemen. Yeah. So let's get into this. Everything else we missed. So this one's going to be a two-parter. Can I do a two-parter for my first draft?
So
sure.
What's the draft order?
Greg.
I thought you were covering that.
Greg's
so
first.
it's
I didn't
me,
get to that yet.
Then it's Dupe, and then it's you, Rick.
Yep.
All right.
So
Yeah.
there we go.
So here we go. So two-part answer. One, Roe v. Wade got overturned. Okay. So that obviously is huge. And it was so huge that it broke up the Take Warning podcast.
Did it?
Yeah.
When did it do that?
I don't understand that part.
Well, we took breaks and then we never really recovered after that. And then,
we all determined that Art was the Yoko Ono of the podcast and broke up the podcast.
Yeah, Art Yoko the podcast.
But we still
took
broke
my
up.
fucking number one pick.
What,
welcome.
Roe versus Wade?
No, it was going to be Art Yoko the podcast.
Oh, well, then you know what? Then erase mine. I'll just keep Roe v. Wade.
Yeah, Roe versus Wade was, without a doubt,
But
also the number one thing on my
Dupe is
list.
before you, Rick.
Roe versus Wade was no matter which side of the aisle that you're on Roe versus Wade, by far the biggest decision of the year. So it changed.
Probably the biggest decision in the last 40 years. So.
Now, I will tell you, I know normally we're not supposed to get into this much detail, everybody, but we've literally been recording for 6 hours today, and we are now just talking about Roe v. Wade. How insane is that? That is just crazy.
I avoid this shit like the plague. Dupe, what's your first pick?
I love this. It's candy, Roe versus Wade. Because I think it was the right decision. Because it returned the power to the states, and we talked about it quite a bit.
What's your goddamn second pick? We got no time.
Pick number 2 that I'm gonna take is. Oh wow, is this really what I'm gonna do? Is that really what I want? Let's go.
We have to.
Global food prices reach their highest prices ever. Well, I've already done inflation. Am I allowed to do that right now? But this is just food.
What you want to go to.
Yeah, but inflation is for the U.S. This one's more globally.
Global food.
Yeah, so the food supply is under crisis in the entire world, and that's kind of a huge issue. Wheat supplies are strained because of Ukraine. Also, food supply issues in Russia, and then just because of green acts throughout the world, we're seeing protests from farmers all across the world because they can't make profits. They can't actually farm the way that they need to farm. And that could lead to mass starvation in countries like Africa, who are lower income, and not just in Africa, but across the world, Asia as well, and South America, where we're going to see mass starvation because we can't feed our population anymore, especially during a time when we hit 8 billion people on this planet. Now we're cutting back the food supply. Doesn't make a lot of sense.
It's very sad, very sad. My pick is going to be we lost the Choco Taco this year. It was retired.
Speaking of food, another thing we lost.
Kind of a hit to Rick's diabetes quest. So
I like that. So I go road starvation. You go with the Choco Taco, in which was reduced. We lost the Choco Taco and then we got it back.
Sort of.
They're bringing it back, right?
Yet. They're going to try and bring it back. Yeah, they're trying to bring it back. But the fact that America realized the Choco Taco is that important to them that they have to revive it says a lot about our
It was
society.
the same thing with Twinkies, too.
What it was,
Twinkies and brought those back.
I almost feel like this is just marketing at this point for the Choco Taco Twinkies. It's kind of how you get their name back in the lexicon, so that people were talking about
maybe. But I mean, the McRib got retired too, and nobody gives a shit about that. They were like, goodbye.
Yeah, that was on the list, and I didn't even know that the McRib was retired.
Nobody
cared.
Still
on the list if you want it, by the way, when it's your turn.
That's probably what I'm going to go over.
Greg, you're up.
I am up. So I think another serious topic is all the protesting that's going in Iran over women's rights.
Yes.
I think that is amazing that those women over there finally standing up for their rights. some of them obviously to their deaths or getting injured or beat up or jailed over fundamental women's rights. So kudos to them. And I think I can say that we all support them or we're all in favor of them standing up to their rights. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think
Absolutely.
Iran has actually announced that they're ending the Ministry of Truth that they had over there. Am I wrong about that, or did I
Yeah,
hear
they
that
I'm
were
correctly?
sure
the
it's going to
morality
come up with
police.
something else, though.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the morality police are trying to
which
get rid
is
of.
which is good. It shows that the protests are working and that they are making strides in more equal treatment of people in that part of the world.
Now all they
So,
have to do is get rid of that Ayatollah, and they're in good shape, huh? So
one step at a time, right? So a
I know.
tyrannical government only has as much power as its people will allow it to have, and so the people are taking that power back, and it's good.
No, good for them.
It's a good thing.
All right, dude, what's your second pick?
Second pick. Let's talk about more freedom. Truck convoy, the
Freedom
freedom
Convoy.
Freedom
convoy.
convoy.
That was
Um,
a lot of gas wasted in a year where gas was expensive.
okay, that's definitely a way to look at it. But then, I mean, I don't disagree with that. Uh, but at the same time, we saw again tyranny. Trudeau showed how capable he is of shutting down freedom of expression and speech. When we just transitioned from the Iranian protests and women's rights and advocating for that, and now we move over to the rights of people having medical autonomy, and the right to live and an income and a living. And then Rick's first comment is about shutting, the gas that they wasted. Well, they're the same issue. They go hand in hand, and it's about people protecting their rights and standing up against would-be dictators or current dictators.
Just be nice if they didn't use so much gas to do it.
Yeah, but Trudeau shut down their bank accounts. He shut down their lives. He's not a good human being. That's not the way you deal with that. You
Mm.
sit down, you talk to people, and we're going as we see more polarization. That's the way that government leaders want to deal with issues. That's the reason why we're seeing such an escalation in Ukraine, because democracy is dying.
All right, Rick, what's your next pick?
I like the awkward silence there. Yeah. This one's now at this point because we've done so many. I'm like, man, I know we talked about this in another show, and I just love you guys to listen to the other little bits we have out there. So I'm
Which
gonna
I'll
leave a
post
lot
here,
of these out here.
here, somewhere. There.
Somewhere. Ghislaine Maxwell received a 20-year sentence. We did not get the list released, and she only got a 20-year sentence for helping facilitate some
In a luxury.
horrific things.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was it didn't feel like justice. That's what
It's
I'm
not
looking for.
justice, because she was only a facilitator of it. She wasn't necessarily one of the Johns or the people who was paying all these millions of dollars to invest in this, and we have no idea how much political um, power that Epstein had,
Mhm.
because none of that was revealed during this. They intentionally played this situation down so that we don't learn the truth behind any of it, and it's disgusting. That's the reason why stories like Balenciaga was so big,
Balenciaga.
because it kind of does reveal their mindsets up there in that cultural elite, in which we're not going to learn. We're not going to learn who they actually are until maybe after they die, and then it will just be all conspiracy theories, which currently is all we have right now as well, because nobody wants to fucking find out the truth, and it's disgusting.
Yeah.
All
It's,
right. My final pick. So I want to be careful with how I express this here. And you guys know I'm not the most eloquent when it comes to speaking. So there were so many active shooter events that happened this year. All of them are tragic, all of them horrific.
Everyone.
And our condolences go out to the families and the victims of all of those tragic events, right? I think the one that really stood out, at least for me, that it just seemed that like every day that went by, we just heard something worse and worse and worse. And every time there was a news article on it, we found out something even more tragic than what we thought previously. But the active shooter event in Uvalde, Texas, at the elementary school there was just utterly horrific. So insane from what happened, the response, the people who died who shouldn't have died because of the lack of response from their police department there. So I don't want to get too deep into it. I think everybody knows Uvalde by now. But yeah, that was just such an insane incident that that it has to be on the list.
Yeah, no.
Absolutely.
Hey,
Rick and I, we've done a Rick and Duper Saves the World, which we're gonna put more into syndication once the network
mhm.
is up. But we did a previous episode where we talked about, how do we stop these kind of things through, you know, better gun laws. And then Greg and I also did a episode where we talked about Uvalde specifically. So go back and check those out because we go pretty in depth on both of those topics. Now, I think that the good thing that was from Uvalde was that we actually got the truth, right? I mean,
Yep.
how many times throughout these drafts that I've talked about, we haven't found out anything, right? It's been bullshit. It's all been covered, right?
Mhm.
At least in this situation, we found out what happened, right? And the failures, and that's good because then at least we can address those failures and put fail safes in place that will prevent it from happening again,
Right.
hopefully, right? So that's the silver lining in this situation. But I my condolences to everybody who was involved in that situation.
It's terrible. It's terrible. What's your third
Um,
pick, dude?
so the UN released a report claiming that the Chinese treatment of the Uyghurs in may constitute crimes against humanity. I don't expect anything to come from this. Again, I've been preaching on this podcast about this for years. It's
We all have, especially you
it's
and Rick. Yeah,
yeah, it's disgusting.
Mhm.
The fact that they have these containment camps down there, mass producing products that we're buying here. Apple is now a $3 trillion company,
Yep.
largely off the slave labor of these people in that country,
Yep.
and we just turn a blind eye to it. We want to virtual signal that we care about human beings, that we care about immigrants, that we care about slavery and things of this sort, and we allow this to happen in China. We don't care. We
We gave
don't
them
because
the
if we
the
did, we
Olympics
would do something
twice.
about it.
Like
Um,
that's terrible.
so, will the UN do anything about it? Absolutely not. We're not going to do anything about it. Uh, we've known about it. The only reason why the UN, in my opinion, the only reason why the UN released the report about this is because we already knew. That's it. That's if it wasn't out in in some media circles, they would have never released this report. We would know nothing.
I believe it. So, not to end on a sour note on this one, but Greg, piggybacking off of what you said, I actually wanted to put a statistic out there, and this is my third. There were 641 mass shootings this year.
it's
That's
insane.
that's the second highest on record. Do you know how many or what year was the most? Number one. I'm gonna give it to you. It's 2021 at 691.
That was going to be my.
So the last
Yeah.
2 years have been horrendous for the amount of mass shootings. Now remember, mass shootings constitute usually what is it like three or more most of the play most when you judge it. That's how they're saying. Yeah,
Gang violent. Yeah.
yeah. But you had really bad shootings. Uvalde obviously was the most tragic. You had Buffalo. That Buffalo shooting was disgusting. There
That
was
one was really bad. It was live
Colorado in
streamed and
November.
it was racist in intent.
Yeah, walking into a supermarket. It was the most disgusting thing. You had the Presbyterian Church in Laguna, in
Yep.
California. The Colorado shooting at the gay nightclub, and the dad was just horrible on that.
Dude, it's so sad, right? Because I'm the one who did the research for all of our topics that we're talking tonight, or
Yeah,
most of them anyway. And it was sad when I'm going through all these websites and these timelines, and it's like shooting here, shooting here, shooting here, shooting here, shooting
yeah.
here. And that's why I was like, because at first I was gonna display as many as I could, and then I was like, this is just way too
No,
many.
you hit the
We
big one, and I really didn't want to get into each and every one of them, but it's important to understand that there were 600 over 600. Like
It's
that's
crazy.
insane. I mean, what was it? Virginia. I was just looking right now. Virginia, Walmart. Remember the Walmart
Yep.
shooting where the supervisor just came in and started blasting in the break room? What is happening?
Well,
It's
we talked
crazy.
about that 988 suicide prevention thing earlier in a previous podcast. I think we need to have something of that sort just for mental health in general, right?
Yeah.
Where if you're having a breakdown, if you're having a hard time, there's a professional that you can call and you can talk, right? And I think maybe this is a public service that I might get behind because I think that's the truth in stopping this is let's get people help. Let's get away from this decadent society where we look at all this happiness and so we internalize that into I'm not happy, and I don't have this on Rick's got this on Instagram, or
Yeah.
Gray's got this on Facebook, and now I'm envious, and now I'm sad, and I'm depressed because I can't find my happiness. In a society that promotes that so much, we need to have a countermeasure to it that helps remind people that happiness isn't a constant in life, and that it's not possible to maintain, and that we need to have an outreach where people can sit back and say, okay, I'm going through a hard time right now, and then somebody who can on that other line be there to talk to them, right? Because I would say with almost the vast majority of those mass shootings, unfortunately, that's just somebody who, and I don't want to um humanize, I guess, these shooters, and I guess this could be perceived that way, but the shooter is also a human being, right? And that human being was somebody who was going through obviously some really bad mental strife, and they acted out in the worst possible way. What if we started treating these people before these things happen, right? As opposed to being retroactive, we actually have lines out there that they can reach out, and they can find their self-worth, so then they're not taking that out on society.
Well, not to start a debate, but just so you know that Obamacare, that everybody loves to call it,
Yep.
actually offers some fantastic mental health resources, and that was one of the major things that they were pushing back in 2012, 2013. So um, take advantage of it. If you can't get real insurance, it's out there, and you can get something subsidized where you will get mental health care. It just sucks because we just don't have enough psychologists and psychiatrists in the country. We need more than what we have. So,
I mean,
kids,
that
if you want to make money and you want to do something good for the world, look
that's
into
not true though.
therapy.
That's
So
not
we are
true. They
short.
don't make money. Psychologists don't make that much money.
No, he
Some do.
said seek therapy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know, seek
Yeah.
therapy, but he also said, kids, if you want to make some money. Um, that's not true, and that's a huge issue, right? We need to refocus our society
I
on
think it
things that
depends on
fucking matter.
what the therapy is, but it,
Yeah.
it does suck. We don't have enough.
If you're
It's
prescribing
hard. It's
drugs, then you'll
hard,
make
right?
money.
Yeah, the
Yep.
psychiatrist,
So,
but that's a lot of
uh,
schooling, and that's just a
well,
lot of
but
debt.
it's not even that. That's not the reason why you make money in that. You make money off the drugs, right? The drugs is where you make the money at, and that's not a good way that we address our society. We shouldn't just be pilling everybody. We should be helping people get better.
Right.
So I think I mean, this is a long conversation. Maybe we
Yeah, I
can
know.
do this in
Final thoughts.
penetrating thoughts, but it is about the school system failing as a overall as well. That we need to restructure quite a
We'll
bit
have this.
of
We'll
the
have
way
this
we
talk
do
on
things.
penetrating thoughts for
Yeah.
sure.
And this is kind of an additional thing. So we kind of gave some good honorary mentions on the previous one too.
Yeah.
So thank you everybody who, hopefully you enjoyed all of these episodes, and this is your first episode, then go back and check out all the other draft shows. Please
They're
comment down
funnier.
below. Subscribe, like. I'm going to put links all over the place with our social media.
I feel like we
email,
blew our
all that
wad
stuff.
from all the other shows, so now we're just like, just all.
No.
Well, no,
not
we
at
got
all.
into like serious topics, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
It was a good. It was a good.
2022 was a serious year, just like every other year. And we will be, stay tuned. There's going to be more shows from the Take Warning Network coming within the next few weeks and few months. Obviously, stay tuned to all those shows in the network. We love you all. Thank you all for subscribing. Share it with your friends. Comment down below if there's anything we missed or if there's any topics you want to discuss further. And have a awesome day.
I want to put one more thing out there, and I just wanted to say thank you for the last couple of years for taking the time to even give us your attention. So I appreciate that for those that have stuck around or are new. If you're taking the time to listen to our dumbasses, I really appreciate that, and I hope we can continue to engage with you. So that's it. Look forward to Take Warning Network coming in the next few months here.
Yeah,
Thanks,
we
guys.
do love you guys. We
Thanks,
miss you.
everyone.